Manchester United is registered in the Cayman Islands. Not Manchester, not England, the Cayman Islands. A tiny Caribbean tax haven 4,000 miles away from Old Trafford. And that one fact tells you everything about how the Glazer family turned one of the world's biggest football clubs into their personal cash machine. Most fans don't know this. They see United buying players. They see money being spent. But what they don't see is where that money comes from and where it goes. Because while United looks like a football club from the outside, it's actually something very different. It's a complex web of offshore companies designed to extract as much cash as possible while paying as little tax as they can get away with.
Let's go back to 2005.
Manchester United was debt-free, completely debt-free. The club had £50 million of debt, which for a business that size is basically nothing. Then Malcolm Glazer showed up. Glazer was an American businessman who'd made his money buying things he couldn't afford. His strategy was simple: find something valuable, borrow a massive amount of money to buy it, then make the thing you just bought pay back the debt. It's called a leveraged buyout, and it's how you become a billionaire without actually having any billions. He paid £790 million for Manchester United. But here's the thing, most of that money wasn't his. He borrowed it. Then he did something that should have been illegal but somehow wasn't. He put all that debt onto the club itself. United went from owing $50 million to owing $604 million in 1 year, just like that. The club's own board warned this was dangerous. They said it could cause a downward spiral in team and financial performance. Fans protested in the streets. Some were so angry, they created an entirely new club called FC United of Manchester. None of it mattered. The deal went through, and then the bleeding started. By 2006, 1 year after the takeover, United had already paid over £53 million in interest payments and fees to the Glazers. That's enough to buy multiple world-class players, gone, just to service debt that wouldn't exist if the Glazers had used their own money. Every year since then, United has been hemorrhaging money. According to BBC Verify, between 2005 and 2024, the club paid out £1.187 billion. Let me say that again, £1.187 billion. That's money that left Manchester United and never came back.
Where did it go?
Well, £767 million went to interest payments on debt. £111 million went to actually paying down some of that debt. £166 million went straight to the Glazers as dividends. That's free money for doing nothing. £55 million went to directors' fees, most of that to the Glazers themselves. And another £88 million went to various fees for banks and financial advisors. The average interest payment every year has been £42 million. £42 million. That's a top-level signing. Every single year. Just wasted on interest. And here's where the Cayman Islands comes in. In 2012, the Glazers moved Manchester United's official company registration from Old Trafford to the Cayman Islands. Although officially, this was tied to the 2012 New York Stock Exchange listing for corporate governance benefits. Some have claimed this was deliberate financial engineering designed to maximize their profits and minimize accountability. The Cayman Islands is one of the most secretive tax havens on Earth. No corporate tax, no income tax, no capital gains tax, no inheritance tax, nothing. Companies register there specifically to avoid paying taxes they'd owe anywhere else. The islands have about 65,000 people, but nearly 100,000 registered companies. That should tell you something. When you register a company in the Cayman Islands, you get special benefits. You can hide who actually owns the company. You don't have to follow the same corporate governance rules as companies in places like the US or UK. Your financial information stays private. And most importantly, you can structure your money flows in ways that let you pay almost no tax. The Glazers also split Manchester United's shares into two classes when they did this. Class A shares that normal investors could buy, and Class B shares that only the Glazers own. Those Class B shares have 10 times the voting power of the regular shares. So even though the Glazers sold some shares to the public, they kept total control. Nobody can challenge them, nobody can vote them out. They own everything that matters. This whole structure exists in one of the most opaque financial jurisdictions on the planet, a place Barack Obama once called the home of the biggest tax scam in the world. The Cayman Islands ranked #1 in the Financial Secrecy Index. #1. More secretive than Switzerland, more secretive than anywhere. And Manchester United's accounts literally state that. Because they're registered in the Cayman Islands, they don't have to follow normal corporate governance standards. They admit it right there in their annual report. They can do things that wouldn't be allowed if they were a normal British or American company. Meanwhile, the debt never really goes away. In 2024, 20 years after the takeover, United still owed £547 million in gross debt. If you include future transfer payments, it's closer to £1 billion. The club has refinanced multiple times, moving the debt around like a shell game, but it's always there, always eating away at the club's resources. People defend the Glazers by saying United's value has gone up, and that's true. They bought the club for $790 million, and it's now worth somewhere between $3 and $4 billion, depending on who you ask. But that value increase didn't come from anything the Glazers did. It came from the Premier League's TV deals getting bigger and bigger. It came from commercial revenue growing because United is Manchester United. The brand was already there. The Glazers just happened to own it while it grew. What did they invest? The evidence suggests very little of their own money. They loaded the club with debt. They took out dividends. They paid themselves director fees. They sold shares and pocketed the money. Between 2012 and 2022, they sold £555 million worth of shares. $484 million of that went directly into their pockets. And all the while, Old Trafford has been falling apart. The stadium leaks when it rains. Parts of it look like they haven't been updated since the 1990s. The training facilities fell behind clubs like Manchester City. The recruitment department was a mess for years. All of this costs money to fix, money that could have been there if it wasn't being funneled to the Cayman Islands. In 2025, things got so bad that Sir Jim Ratcliffe bought a 30% stake in the club for £732 million. Part of his deal included injecting another £236 million directly into the club for infrastructure. He later said United was set to run out of money by the end of the year. Run out of money. One of the richest clubs in world football was about to go broke because the financial structure was so broken. The Glazers' response to all this has been silence. They never speak to fans, they rarely give interviews. Joel and Avram Glazer, the two brothers most involved with the club, show up for big matches and then disappear. They don't have to explain themselves because they've built a corporate structure where they don't answer to anyone. That's what registering in the Cayman Islands gets you. Zero accountability. Compare this to other owners. Liverpool's owners, Fenway Sports Group, haven't taken a single dividend out of the club. They invested in infrastructure. They built a new stand. They hired the right people. They made Liverpool competitive again. United's owners did the opposite. The word scam gets thrown around a lot, but this fits the definition. The Glazers used borrowed money to buy Manchester United. They put that debt on the club. They've extracted over £1 billion in various payments while the stadium crumbles. They registered the whole operation in a place specifically designed to help rich people avoid taxes and hide money. And they did all of this while the club won just 5 major trophies in over a decade. Fans have protested for years. In 2021, they literally stormed the pitch and got a match postponed. That was after United tried to join the Super League, another cash grab that would have destroyed football's structure. The Glazers backed that too, until the backlash forced them to withdraw. Some people argue this is just smart business, that the Glazers are simply using the tools available to maximize profit. And maybe that's true from a cold financial perspective. But Manchester United isn't supposed to be just a business. It's a football club. It represents a city. It means something to millions of people who've supported it their whole lives. Those people deserve better than owners who view their club as an offshore asset to be milked dry. They deserve owners who invest properly, who care about winning, who understand that a football club isn't the same as a shopping mall or a property portfolio. The Cayman Islands registration isn't illegal. The debt structure isn't illegal. Taking dividends isn't illegal. None of it breaks any laws. But legality and morality aren't the same thing. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. For 20 years, Manchester United has been run as a vehicle to enrich one American family. The club generates enormous revenue, over £600 million a year, but so much of it gets siphoned off before it can be used properly. And the really frustrating part is that it didn't have to be this way. If the Glazers had bought United with their own money, there'd be no debt. If they'd registered it in England, there'd be more transparency. If they'd invested instead of extracted, United might have stayed at the top. Instead, they built an elaborate offshore system designed to take as much money out as legally possible, while putting as little back in as they could get away with. So when people ask if Manchester United is a scam, this is the answer. The club itself isn't a scam. The football is real. The players are real. The history and the fans are real. But the ownership structure built around it, that's absolutely a scam. A legal one, a sophisticated one, but a scam nonetheless. And it's all hiding in plain sight, 4,000 miles from Old Trafford, in the Caribbean, in the Cayman Islands.